Hey guys, I just want to make sure once y'all get on here that you can hear me okay because we've had a little bit, I live out in the country, so, you know, it's a little cloudy today. So when all of a sudden the internet doesn't work. So I just wanted to make sure when you guys hop on here that you can indeed hear me okay. So can somebody give me a thumbs up? Oh, my mom's watching. Hey, mom. Can everybody hear me? Is it working? Hello? Okay, I think I got a thumbs up. Can someone throw in the comments that they can for sure hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Okay, perfect. Mary Pat, she can hear me. Okay, awesome. Okay, great. Hey, Karen. Thank you so much for my flowers. Um, yes, so much is happening. First things first, little quick cancer update. I am doing great. I am, you know, gathering information about my oncotype and what's the next step. So we're just like full on figuring out mode at the moment. I'm going to talk about that because I took notes on it because that's who I am. um, so yeah, but I mean, it's 4 weeks today, and I'm actually going to also share a picture from last year of my chart schedule. And turns out exactly 1 year ago today, I had a 3D fancy mammogram that, wait for it, did not show anything. Can we just repeat? My mammogram a year ago said I was totally fine. And yes, I'm wearing my new shirt. Hey. That, yeah, a month ago, I just had a double mastectomy and we are figuring out the next steps. And a year ago, my mammogram was perfect. So, news to y'all. And I like to think about it a lot like the airport, right? Like, if you see something, say something. And that's the same thing with your boobs, okay? So, if you feel something, do something. Do something. And I really thought, like, been really reading a lot about cancer. Again, I'm part of this club I never wanted to be a part of, but now that I'm in here, I'm going to be loud about it because all this research money is going into, like, you kind of can't prevent it, right? Like, cancer is everywhere. Like, 1 out of 5 people in like, everywhere is going to get some type of cancer sometime in their life. So I am unlucky in that way, but I'm unlucky with thousands and thousands of other women. And the crazy thing, exactly like Karen is saying, the lobular carcinoma it looks like almost normal tissue. So it is up to you to know your boobs and say something. If it does not feel right, you need to say something. And I honestly, like, let's go, like, we're just going to switch back from cancer to horses, cancer, horses, horses, cancer, because that's my life at the moment. And it's like, I say that to my students all the time. I'm like, listen, if you are in a clinic or you're in a lesson and it does not feel right, you should say something. And that goes for your own boobs. And I'm like getting into this weird habit where whenever I talk about my boobs, I need to like hold on to them like this. So this is weird, and I'm really working on not doing that anymore. So that was like what I needed to work on for my clinic this weekend because I'm like, people who don't know me are gonna think that this is weird. So don't do that. But I kind of like they're not really mine. So it's kind of like, hey, I'm gonna talk about like my new hat, and I would touch my new hat. So I'm gonna talk about like my new boobs, and I have to touch them. So I'm like breaking that habit because that's weird, and don't be weird. Number one rule in life, don't be weird. So anyway, I feel great. I have a lot of decisions to come up with. Yeah, and I'm sure I can tell you all about that more as things get more clear. But in general, I'm like cantering normal. Montana is the perfect big brown cloud, and I feel so fortunate. Thank you, Brenda and Claude. He is the best horse ever. And I walk around for half an hour doing my half pass. I walk through the Grand Prix, and then I do some canter, do some pirouettes. I did 2 time tempies today, which was like the first time I was like going fast and like doing some stuff, except like canter, pirouette, canter, which is technically canter, but not really. Like I wasn't really riding. But last week I got on one of my favorite horses of all time, which is Apollo. And I was like walking down to the arena and I was like, oh, like you are just not supple and not elastic because I like it's reverberating right into my chest. So I only walked him one day and I felt like I need to be better and like not do that. So I didn't do that again. And then I actually took like the rest of the week off from riding. So all of you who are concerned I'm doing too much, I half halted myself and put myself back on stall rest and didn't poke the bear. So yesterday I rode and I really felt great. I had an amazing clinic in Maine. It was so much fun. It was so fun. Thank you, Susan Oakland, for inviting me. Thank you, Bryn Walsh, for coming up to Pucker's Brush, which is cool because that's like Lennon Gray's old place. So it's like this famous, incredible place. So that was kind of magical to be there. And the weather was perfect. And Richard came, and then he was able to sightsee and, you know, have a good time. So that was great because he's been a really great caretaker of me during this whole cancer expedition, and he's been great. So he was able to like get away from me for a while and not feed me and care for me and carry all my things. So he went off and I had a great time. So that was really great. But it really got me thinking, and like, you see everyone posting stuff on Facebook of like, oh, I rode in this clinic and I'm doing this, or here's my rides from this clinic and woohoo. And I thought, like, what do I want to accomplish when I teach clinics? So I've been like thinking about that, and that was just something interesting because I saw something on Facebook that made me like we've talked a lot about like how for you to get something great out of a clinic, but then it's also like what is your teacher's objective for doing that clinic? And so I'm going to talk about that. And I wanted to give you guys just like a couple of things. The podcast coming out on Friday is Grieving a Young Horse and Continuing to Move Forward in honor of little Duffy's death last year. So he was a 3-year-old that I rode both of his parents, and Wendy Costello, she bred him, Wendy and Marty, and Wendy died of cancer last year. So this whole thing is just really close to my heart. Cancer and, talking about there was a lot of loss last year, and then COVID was challenging, and now we got cancer this year. So it's just like making us really strong. So, like, whatever you're going through, you can get through it. So that's a great podcast. And then I was laughing because one of my memories came up of Summer, my Red Queen, and I was talking about perfect products. And so I shared in the comment section the podcast with Jeff Morgenstern, who is the creator of Perfect Products, because I am telling you, if you need help getting your horse under control, and it's not like a sedative or anything like that, but it just like takes the adrenaline rush. Like if they're gonna go up to 8 on their own and be like a little bit like not super controllable, like these products don't take that away from them, but they just make the peak of the adrenaline rush like not as high. So they're still gonna react and be themselves, but it isn't like so high up. And I've just been so pleased with all kinds of different horses and all kinds of different products. We do the Lactoless for back soreness. We do the Supreme and Sane and Sound for my fresh ones. We have a few on training day. It's been Like it's an amazing product, and I saw Summer on my memories, so I just thought um, that would be fun to share that. And I always want to thank Jeff for all his support because that means a lot and keeps us all safe because we got other problems in the world to worry about, like cancer. So we got to like keep the controllables. We got to control the controllables. Um, and again, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been so incredibly supportive and inspirational and sending me wonderful gifts. I got these really cute cookies. You know, feel better, thinking of you, get well. Thank you, Katie Straighton, for like the box of cookies, which I gave to the girls in the barn because I just don't need that many cookies. And then I did want to share this because this is really special. Charles sent me, who he is also the person who gave me my something old for my wedding. So this is like really special. He sent me this beautiful amethyst. It's like amazing. And he had said, amethyst has ancient significance in its believing that it creates serenity, trust, and grace. The great purple coloring qualified amethyst to represent majesty, luxury, and elegance. Amethyst is believed to hold strong healing properties as well. So he wishes me a fast recovery and sends all his love. And the funny part is, well, I hope that you will wear this lovely stone even when there is not a horse around. And I was like, Charles, all I do is horses. And that brings me joy because we always have this conversation of, I need to find other things that bring me joy. And I'm like, but horses bring me joy. And he's like, you should do other things. And I'm like, but I love horses. That makes me happy. But speaking of doing other things, oh, also, I got a cute book of baby animals. So all cute. Well, that's not such a cute one, but like those guys are cute. Oh, look, cute, cute little guy. Cute baby animals from all my friends at the Devon Board of Directors. Thank you guys. Sorry, I've been like MIA. But we're coming to Devon and I can't wait. I'm going to be there with bells and whistles on. Also, this book is changing my life. Thank you, Stephen Peters, for telling me about it. You Are the Placebo. Dr. Joe Dispenza, amazing. I highly, highly, highly recommend everyone should read this. Game changer right there. So, yeah, so also this week, thinking about what I aim to share with people when I teach clinics, because also I rejoined the gym and I went for my first personal training session this morning, and my legs, because I said, like, just like before, I mean, I did just go through a big surgery, but they didn't do anything to my legs. So let's get going. And, again, like, just start, just begin. I'm like, dude, I am kind of embarrassed that I have not worked out for like 2 years. I mean, I work out like at home and I do a lot of yoga, a lot of stretching and a lot of like core work. But I love Zumba. I haven't done Zumba for like 2 years. My gym in Florida closed. Like there's all these reasons why, which are really just excuses that I did not join. So we were coming home from getting my drain out, and I'm like, stop at the gym. I'm signing up for the gym. Richard, I'm signing you up too. So, and I thought I just want to start off on the right foot. And I don't think I've actually used a personal trainer for a very long time. And I'm pretty comfortable with weights and machines and stuff like that. But I thought, no, I had cancer. I am in the process of kicking its ass. So I'm gonna get help. I need to accept help from people, and I'm actually gonna ask for help. So Mike worked out with me this morning, and whew, I might need some Advil. But it also just reminded me that our horses are our athletes. And I think it's really important that everyone get comfortable with what it feels like to be an athlete, because then you will have some compassion and understanding for your horse when he gets a little sore or doesn't feel as good that day. And when you work out in a consistent way, you have a greater sense of chop on the wood, like just keep doing it. But also, like some days you don't feel great, right? Like some days, I remember when I was playing basketball and there were days I felt super fast and I was probably not any faster than I was like the day before. Other days my feet would feel so heavy and I'd be like, ugh, I just feel so slow. And I was still probably doing like a good job. So our horses feel that way too. And so that also got me thinking about everybody wants to come to a clinic and have like this great ride or this game-changing experience. And I was just thinking about like what do I want to give to people when they come for clinics? And so again, I cannot tell you how many people come into the clinic and they're like, I mean, and like I had two people this weekend that didn't canter. And that was like the first thing out of her mouth. She's like, I don't canter. I just want to say, I don't canter. And I was like, okay, clearly I have a lot to talk about. So we can dissect and delve into like whatever you want more explanation about. And I think that's important that, people get like insecure about like, oh, I just do basics and I'm not very interesting because I'm not doing like all the other fancy stuff. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like all the fancy stuff depend on how good the fundamentals are. And that is never boring for me or any great teacher because they also understand everything comes down to a great foundation and that lives in the basics. And it's just always about um like going over the path of the right way of functioning for the horse so that path becomes easier and easier. And so that's just a lot of repetition. um but just never feel bad about going through the basics. Like literally, we are all working on getting the horse on the bit. It's all relative, right? Like my young horses need to learn how to go on the bit, and yet my Grand Prix horses need to be more through or more on the bit. And I remember I was teaching little T, and I was like, T, he's got to be rounder than that. He's got to be rounder. He's got to be more on the bit. And she's like, I mean, I feel like you've been telling me this for like 10 years. Is he closer on the bit? And I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, he looks like so much better than he did when he was not on the bit 8 years ago. He just is now fourth level and now needs to be more on the bit for fourth level. And then as soon as you get comfortable with fourth level, then we're gonna like push it up to pre St. George. And so it's all relative. It's not like, oh, I know how to go on the bit now. So now I learned that lesson. And so we just can move on to flying changes or something, right? It's like just like yoga. It's like, am I using myself in my best way? Am I holding myself up on my own accord in the best possible way? And so I have to ask the horse every moment, like, are you in your best version of balance, And that's constantly changing. Like, go do a yoga pattern, or a yoga exercise. It's like half moon and it's like, whoa, I'm like moving all over the place. And literally, we're not doing it at trot. We're just on a mat that's not moving and we're still like moving around. So imagine your horse that has somebody on top that may or may not be in balance. They're asked to trot while doing a yoga pose. Like that is really hard. And we never get to the point where it's just perfect and we never have to work on it again, right? So that is always about like basic fundamentals. I also get really fired up and just passionate about like I want to teach you guys a proven and repeatable method, right? So it's like, that there is like I want you to totally get it. so that on Wednesday, when you're totally by yourself, you have access and have been shown and explained like a process so that you can create it for yourself alone, right? So I like lived in Europe and rode in Europe, and that was I got lessons every day, and that was amazing. And I came home, and then I needed to survive on clinics. So I didn't have Eula every day telling me, Jessica, more down seat, knee down, heel down, more body riding, more preparation, more activity. I had to like start to figure it out and feel it for myself, which is also a very important process in your riding, that someone's not just always telling you what you should be feeling and telling you what you should be doing and what it looks like and what they should do. And like that's a skill too, to like follow your teacher, like have so much body control that you can do what your teacher is telling you when they tell you it. That's great too. But then there's also this place of like you got to just like process it into your own body and your own feel, so that you can start to make those decisions of, oh, he's starting to not feel so great. I feel that I know what to do because I've learned this, uh, like the science of riding, that there is like a process of this and it's repeatable. So it's not like do these 5 things randomly and like you want to be able to like when I run into this thing, I can do that, right? So there's this huge piece that I want it to make sense to you so you understand what you're going for. So you also will have more motivation to seek it when you ride on Tuesday or Wednesday. Like so many times I see these, or I hear like these people are like, oh yeah, I rode with so and he made me work so hard and made me repeat it like 57 times and I finally got it. And it's like, that's like a method of repetition, which I also agree with. But I also am like such a proponent for the horse's well-being that sometimes like repeating it for you is like not the best thing for your horse. And so that's why I like to teach in a real systematic process that you can like 1 + 1 = 2, plus one more equals 3. And like that always is that's always how the answer goes. And again, like when we talk about like the science of riding, um, I want you guys to seek teachers that truly expose you to the knowledge, right? Because first we have to recognize that we need to like learn the knowledge and then it can slowly turn into understanding. But it's also about being able to make the decision of like what is happening and what should I do with it? And am I being a reactive rider or do I have like a plan and an exercise? And again, like Charles would always say, the horse is always right and horses never lie. So he is always the greatest judge of if we are doing it well or not. Like, learn to hear what he is telling you, as well. And then I sort of went off on an offshoot because when I think about how Charles would teach me and how I attempt to teach my students at clinics as well, it's like all of these lessons of like, look to yourself first. Should you hit yourself with the whip? Like, were you super clear? Are you doing it right? Do you know what you should be doing? Can you control your body to do what your brain is telling your body to do? Like, there's all these different processes that have to go into this, learning of riding. But I do think, like, when I think about the horse being my greatest judge of, does he approve of the way I'm riding or does he approve of the way I'm teaching this rider to ride? And I just go back into this idea of how I'm able to handle this cancer diagnosis so positively is because of all these lessons I've learned through, not only riding, but also teaching so much. And so I sort of broke it down into a couple different categories of horses have really taught me about accepting the unknown, right? Like, we just have to come with this patience that more will always be revealed. And it's important to really educate yourself so that you can make an informed decision. And like I always think about like comparing like what I'm going through with how I deal with my horses when the veterinarian comes and it's like, okay, he's limping. So it's unknown where this is coming from. We don't know. Like, I have something weird in my breast. Is that cancer? Last year, exactly 1 year ago, apparently it was not cancer. And now I got a 3.7 centimeter tumor in my breast that needs to be removed. And like, wow, it's like this unknown. And it's like, you need to work through the process of learning what you can and cannot control, and then letting go of the parts you are not in control of, because that will just bring you negative energy and anxiety, and those are just not going to serve you great. And it's really hard. Trust me, I've been going through it, and that's hard. But it's important to like keep that discipline of like, and we'll get into that, handling the process of things. But like literally, I keep thinking about like, okay, if I like separate myself and this is a different diagnosis, not on myself, but on like my horse, and it's maybe a suspensory and not cancer. Like, okay, these are things I've already learned through the process of there's a lameness. Like, what is it? It's the unknown. The horse comes in from the paddock and you're like, oh no, he's limping. Oh my God. Like, what is it? And so it's the unknown. And so again, it's also important, like you may never get all the answers and no one can tell you what you should do exactly. You need to find your voice inside and trust yourself. My friend, dear friend, and I can't wait to see him soon in Florida, but Michael Klemke would always say, you got to trust your stomach feeling. And I'm like, okay, my stomach feeling. I'm pretty sure you mean trust your gut, but I really love your stomach feeling. So I use that all the time. I love it. And like, if you feel it in your gut that this vet is like, oof, we need to ultrasound that right away today. And it's like, wow, but it's kind of swollen. And I don't know if like we should do that right away. And it's like the ultrasound and it's, all filled. And there's like this not great diagnosis, right? It's like, okay, that in my stomach feeling says maybe we should wait till the swelling goes down and we should look at it again. And I should get like a second opinion because Dr. Doom and Gloom over here is like, whoa, it's totally not okay. But yet, can you really see it with the swelling in there? So, like, again, like, follow your stomach feeling and trust your gut and, you know, go through this process of like get informed, like educate yourself about it, get a second opinion. So that moves me into this process. Like now, okay, we've gathered the unknown, something happened, whatever, and now it's like the process. And I think it's really important to have patience during this information gathering time. And I always joke because I'm always telling everybody like, don't freak out, don't freak out. And it was hard to be like, okay, this horse has a suspensory or a heart condition, or maybe this is EPM, or I have cancer. And it's like, okay, first off, don't freak out. Like, just calm it down, ground yourself, and like take a couple deep breaths, one step at a time. Again, like Dr. Jenny always says, like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, like, one little step leads to the next step, which leads to the next step, and more shall be revealed. And so I wrote down too, like, don't get ahead of yourself. Go slow and go forward with like mindfulness. Like, what can I do or feel or think about this at this moment? Um, and then again, like when you're trusting your doctors, right? Or the people, your trainer, your vets, your doctor, your teacher, like whatever. It's like one of my coaches used to always say, like, trust but verify. And so just because one person says something doesn't mean that's written in stone and that is exactly what it is, and there's no other choice but this, right? And it's like, it's okay to seek more info and wait a little while and like really see what becomes more clear when the dust settles. Like I got a lot of information today about what I should do. And it's like, whew, okay, just process it, take it in one tiny bite at a time, and it shall be revealed, and I will follow my stomach feeling on what to do next. And again, like that whole thing of don't freak out. This part of this process is like, so let's say it's like a suspensory, like rehab the injury and then make decisions, right? Like, don't at that moment be like, oh my God, she has a suspensory. She's got to be retired. Oh, it's over, and it's okay to cry. Like, definitely cry, let it out. But, like, don't make like hasty decisions about the finality of like whatever it is. Like, do the thing, do the next right thing. What do we need to do? We need to tack Walker for the next 4 months or 6 months or turn her out for a year and then like do the next right thing. So, like, really trust in that process that it's okay you don't have all the answers right at this second. Trust the process, educate yourself, and follow your stomach feeling about that. So, again, like another thing, like horses have taught me is like critical thinking, that there's like an action and then there's like a reaction to like, if I do this, that will happen. And so I think that also really helps with the critical thing, the decision making part of make good choices, right? Like, don't freak out and then make good choices. So you've got a horse that's been rehabbing, you've spent all this time getting this thing like not traumatized in the tendons and quiet, and then like you're like, okay, today is the first day I can either sit on it, turn it out, trot it under saddle, canter it under saddle, make good decisions, action reaction, sedate it, please give it a little vitamin A, because again, like what happens if you go to canter it and it's like, wee, and it's so happy because it gets to move again and it bucks you off and runs around and re-injures the leg, right? Like we don't want that to happen. So I think it's really important to think about that critical thinking about what what leads to what, and that's so often part of this ideas of the things I'm teaching in clinics, because I want you to understand this can lead to that. And so, do we want that? Or do we want a different thing? So then we should choose a different thing to do, and I want to create thinking riders because I learned a long time ago I can't be everybody, I can't be everything for everybody all the time. I have lived in different locations. I have wonderful, amazing, dedicated students that have been with me for over 15 years, like a very long time, more than that even. And what I want the biggest gift I can give them is like an education of process, right? Like, and I want them to ride with other people. And then I want them to ask me, hey, can we talk about what we did? Because I need to like make it make sense in my program, and I'm always happy to do that with my students, and because I want it all to make sense. But like what I feel like I want to do when I teach you in a clinic is start that idea that there is a real science of riding and a real process. And what's hard about what you see and can experience out there, there's a lot of techniques going on, right? There's like all kinds of different like techniques to do certain things. but like the overall understanding of how it fits into everything is really important. I think also it's important to process the inevitable, like, what is the end game, and is this the road to get me there? Maybe it's inevitable I need to retire the horse. Maybe it's inevitable um, I'll need to lower the horse's level of work going forward, like whatever that is. I do think it's also important to come to that in a good term of, we call it like stop the bleeding. Like, when is it that moment? I learned that from Erwin LaPoe, who sold me this amazing farm, amazing man. And, it's like, when is that moment you're going to pull the plug, like financially, emotionally, like, I've invested in this horse all this time and money, and it's just not working. When do I decide like this horse needs to go on a different path with someone else, or get turned out somewhere else? Like, um sometimes that's inevitable, and it's also okay to accept that as well. And again, we always come down to the idea of, like, enjoy. Like, gratitude is absolutely everything. And another one of my friends at the clinic is going through a health situation, right? And it's like, yeah, like those days like, my dad would always say, you know, if you can wake up and get out of bed and stand on your own two legs and breathe out of your own lungs, it's a great day. And when I was like a teenager, I'm like, whatever, dad. Like, life is great. I'm worried about young riders, and that was important too. And everything is important to everybody, but it was like keeping that in perspective, that you truly don't have to look very far to see people who have it worse than you. And to kind of, I always say, it's important in the arena to know where you are in relationship to the arena. Like, when I'm on the center line, where am I? Where is my horse's haunches? Where is his pole? Like, where is his shoulder? Where am I sitting? And then it's also like, be aware of where you are in the rest of the world. Like, going to Africa was a really huge life-changing experience for me, because people are suffering and horses are suffering, and um it's just really big to feel like keeping things in perspective, and not by shaming that I'm having a problem struggling with this and that's not important as your thing. It's just that when things are going great, which is totally when we don't think of anything bad, but like when things are going great, please enjoy it. When you have no pain in your body, and you don't have any illness in your body, and your horse is healthy, and you know they're sound, and they are just there for you to be able to improve yourself and get better, and just enjoy that. That's so what gratitude is all about, of like, wow, I got up on my own two legs today, and I breathed out of my own lungs, and I walked up to my barn, and I got on my horse. Like, that's amazing. It's also amazing. You're going to go to the Olympics. You're going to win young riders. You're going to make your canter transition on the bit. Like, it's all relative, but like, for wherever you are and whatever you're having go right, just do me a favor and just rejoice in that and really feel that. And because, as everything, this too shall pass. So when we have those good moments, it's really important to really just feel it and just be in it fully. And that's the same with the bad times, right? Like, that will also pass. When you're feeling sad, sore, like scared, like whatever it is, like, that will also pass. And so that's helpful to know when you're going through something tough, but it's also inspiring and motivating to really enjoy it when it's going well. So circling back around to the clinics, because I kind of went off on a offshoot there. Um, I always attempt to share with my riders to remember what Charles says, which is it's a riding sport and not a horsing sport. And so we always need to look to our riding first and be aware of what we're doing. And then it's again like anything, right? Like surround that bad habit with love and let it go, right? Like don't shame yourself or, I mean, getting a little bit pissed off is okay. I mean, at least that's worked for me. Like I'd be like, oh, I don't want to hear my teacher tell me one more time to put my leg forward or my hand down or my sit on my AR. So I want you guys to think about being firm with yourself, but positive towards yourself so that you can truly make a change, not because you're like, oh, I'm so stupid, but that like, oh, I want to mute my teacher. Like every student's motivation should be, I don't want to hear my teacher tell me to put my heel down today, or go more forward or whatever. Like pick one thing and be like, pay attention, be mindful, right? Of like, I don't want to hear my teacher tell me that today, and then pick a new thing once you get that organized. I think it's also really important when things aren't going great with your horse, and I talk about this a lot in my lectures in the academy, which you can join if you want, so let us know. Decide if it's confusion or a lack of strength that the horse is not able to do it. And then if it is confusion, come up with a real teaching process, which has what has been so fun about the academy is I'm like, I can help you train your horse at home. Like I know I can. Follow these exercises and teach them this way. And when you run into trouble here, review back to this video and do that exercise till it becomes more clear. Like really, again, there's so much reactive riding going on in the world because the culture in the world is like more, quicker, better, faster. And that's just dressage and horses just it doesn't go like that. And so neither does self improvement, right? Which is why everybody should go to the gym and oh, I want to lose weight. And then we all give up 3 weeks later because it's not happening fast enough. It's like, well, that's dressage right there. It's slow and you're gonna have to repeat it, and slowly over much time you will finally start to get it and feel it and change. But you got to keep chopping the wood. I love teaching those processes of like, Charles always teaches about Hegel's dialectics, right? You need to understand where am I, where do I want to go, and what's my process to get there. And we really get into that in clinic rides and of course also in the academy. But um, I want people to be thinking riders, right? And I always laugh like, well, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can hit the horse with the whip, it's like, but like, is he being lazy or does he just like not understand what you want him to do? Is he not strong enough to do it? Like I like to think about the horse is actually an incredibly generous partner who gives us more than we probably deserve. And like, because of that, like, I want to give them mutual respect and help them by teaching their riders to think about things that way and like problem solve, right? Um, and again, like I think about like I had a personal training session today. Like there was a couple things that I was like, whew, I have not done this kind of squat in a long time, and like, whoo, feeling the burn. And I like my form is like the last five. I was like really digging deep because I was getting fatigued and I couldn't do it great. You know what that personal trainer never did to me? Kick me because I couldn't do the right form because I was tired. He never kicked me. Right. So that, but it's like totally okay for us to kick our horses all the time when they're like either struggling to understand a concept or they can't physically do it for the fifth time. We needed to repeat it. then it's their fault they didn't do it perfectly the last time. And it's like a lot of times they get tired. I was tired this morning, and he let me slow down and do the last four, like, a little slower, right? So think about that sometimes. Like, what would it be like if your personal trainer treated you like you sometimes accidentally treat your horse? Um, and like things like I just really want to like also share is like journal. You should write it down. There is so much power in meditation. There is so much power in mindful action and thinking. And one of the best ways to like get in your head and be aware of what you're experiencing is to journal about it. Write it down. It's like incredible. And I'm just going to go into this tiny little piece right here to this end the night off because since I found out I had cancer and I learned about oncotype, like I didn't know what that was, right? And that's the number that after they, dissect your tumor and figure it all out, it like tells you the chance of a reoccurrence of this type of cancer. So it's called your oncotype. So there's all these testings they're doing on the cells of your tumor. And for like legit 6 weeks when I learned about oncotype, I have been meditating on seven's like my lucky number. So I was like, okay, I want my oncotype to be 7. So I was like, 7, 7, 7. And then I thought, oh my God, what happens if my brain gets it messed up and it becomes 77 and not 7? So then I'm like, okay, problem solving. I will give it a range. I will go between 7 and 17, 7 and 17, between 7 and 17. Guess guess what the number is? 12. It is 12. Like mind blown, right? So it works. Meditation works. Mindful thinking, concentrated thought, it works. So I want you guys to use that. You love your horses. So use all the power you can find to make it a great relationship and make it physically fun and rewarding for everybody involved, right? And so I just want y'all to find a way to inspire and teach and enjoy your horses. And a big cheers to all of you for joining me tonight. And yeah, make it a great night, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you soon. Bye.